shit's given. No shit given. No shit's given. We don't care what you think.
Welcome to No Shit's Given. I'm Chris.
I'm Ben.
Let's get to it, man.
How's your week?
Good. I saw some crazy stuff driving in today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm driving by Stewart's in Lions Falls, and I look over, and there's a Subaru going down the four-wheeler trail.
Nice.
What the hell? I look over, and you're thinking, oh, there's going to be some young kid dicking around. This lady's got gray hair. She's old as dirt. Driving right down the four-wheeler trail.
Yeah.
Towards the church place and the health center.
Not even pull it out of 12. Just take the wheeler
Nope.
trail down the side.
Yep.
Nice.
Bouncing all around in her Subaru Forester.
I am sure of that.
I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, I can just take the side road over to the health center.
Well, if she's that bad at driving, stay off the road.
Yeah.
So
I think you need to retest after a certain age.
Yep.
Like every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You hit 70. Every 3 to 5, we give you a little test just to make sure you're good to go.
Yep.
And then back on the road you go.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that even a little bit.
That's the only automobile stuff I have for you today. That's the only thing. Besides getting behind a crappy truck and it throwing a stone up into my windshield and cracking it. That was awesome.
Did you catch him?
So I just went around them. I'm like, screw it. My insurance will cover it if it gets worse, but just a little
chip.
chip right now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah. You get to fix that in October.
Yep. That'll be nice. So,
Well, cool. Good week for you.
yeah, good stuff for the tattoo shop.
Yeah, we've been banging right along. Everything's rolling there. Only hiccup in my giddy up this week is child support.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
That's one
Yeah.
thing I'm glad I don't have to deal with yet.
Yes.
Until my wife divorces me. Don't divorce me, honey. I love you.
Yeah, divorce is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the child support nonsense. Let's see, the kid is 19,
Yep.
is living on her own, has been gainfully employed for the most part for the better half of 2 years, and I'm still paying her mother for what?
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, I've been paying all this money for the last 15 years, and none of it goes to the kid. The whole thing is a fucking scam.
It's based on New York or out in Oregon?
This is a New York one because it started here.
Okay.
Which is part of
That's why you're still paying it.
well, no, it's all the way around. From basic understanding is you're paying as long as they're in school, you pay till they're 21.
Is she in school?
No, she's graduated,
Okay.
and she is, like I said, she's working. She has a job. She's been paying her own stuff for a while now.
Then you shouldn't have to pay anymore.
Yeah, it would make sense. So it would be a simple, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah, go to family court and say,
Yep.
hey, here's the deal, and that's it.
All right. Oh, how naive you are.
I know nothing of this stuff.
So, because somehow I always am served by somebody. The nonsense paperwork I've dealt with family court, like I said, for the better part of 15 years now. I just figured you file, the court does their job, and takes care of the paperwork and makes sure people are taken care of that need to know. No. It is my responsibility to have her personally served. Now, I can use a variety of options, you know. So you're out there, I can trust you that you're going to verify in court, you served her, yada, yada, yada.
Or you can hire a processor.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's
out there.
that's what I ended up having to do. But they have suggestions, you know. I can have my daughter do it.
Yeah, that's not uncomfortable for her.
Uncomfortable for her. Who the hell would do? I mean, like, come on.
Who brings their kid in to serve
Well,
the parent?
I bet you if she lived in New York, she'd probably be
She'd be like, yeah, I'll do it then.
Well,
Don't
no,
worry.
she wouldn't be glad to do it, but she would get asked.
Yeah, but you know what? If she was in New York, you'd probably been giving her like some debit card and being like, all right, this is your child support goes here, and this is it. You know?
Yeah, you would.
I had a buddy that did that once their kid turned 18, was out of their parents' house, but they were going to school. They said, all right, I'm putting the money in this account for the child, and they get their card, and all the money goes to them, not the mother anymore.
Yep. That would be ideal. I've never had an issue. As a family, we've never had an issue giving her anything she needed whenever she needed it. The issue I have is that $200 and something every freaking month ends up going to the household that she, since she was a teenager, pretty much hasn't been in hardly at all to begin with. It's a flat out ridiculous nonsense scam. I can't even, like I told you earlier, like I'm going to get into this one and be like, I've got so much venom to spew that I can barely even get it all out. Like,
well, men get screwed anyway.
And they do, absolutely. Like, and there's such different standards for different guys even.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there are people that I know, you're on welfare. You're not responsible for the $25,000 in child support you never paid.
Right.
Come on.
I thought they're supposed to take people to jail, though. I mean,
yeah,
literally.
you would think. But
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time they do that, then the long and short of it, you're never going to get paid if they're sitting in jail.
No, in New York State,
and New
they
York
let you
State
right out
doesn't
anyway.
put you in jail for shit.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
so-
they do. You just get right back out. Same day.
But they won't even do that with like this kind of stuff. They're like, oh, you got a court date. Oh, you tried to find a job. Okay. You know, and I'm like, motherfucker ain't worked in 20 years.
Right.
How the hell do you figure he can't
Fucking
even...
McDonald's hiring at $17 an hour.
Yeah.
Go work McDonald's.
You know, and the $250 plus that I'm paying, like, worst case scenario, I can just scrap in bottles and cans.
Yeah.
And I can pay that. I mean, come on. It's not that difficult if you want to support your kid. But the constant scam of it is like, you know, and she's been on the phone. We've had lots of conversations. There was probably 10 years of her life. She had no idea I was even sending anything out there.
Right.
All right. And then as she goes along, she gets older and she says, I need this. Okay, well, ask your mom. She doesn't give me any of that. Okay, so I send her whatever, you know. But it doesn't actually go to the kid. It goes to her.
Yeah.
It's a payment.
It goes to the house they're living in.
So,
I mean, I get it.
No, fuck that. Get it. It's a payment for you to take my kid and keep her there.
Yeah,
and like,
it's supposed to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head and that kind of stuff.
I mean, and maybe that did go towards it, but come on. It just, you know, call a spade and be like, look, she's, you know, I can prove everything I'm saying right now. She's living in her own place. She's got her own job. She ain't been even talking or been home in months. Has no intentions on going back. Why do I have to go through this?
Well, you shouldn't be now. You shouldn't have to. It should just end.
Right, it should.
Once you have proof to the court that she's got a job, hey, here's her graduation certificate.
Yeah.
Here's her W-2 or whatever.
Done. You would think. But instead of doing that, I got a court date coming up in a month or so that I'm going to be at that she won't answer the phone for.
Right.
So it'll get postponed for at least a month. And then...
No, don't you just get a default judgment on that?
Oh, no.
Why?
Because that would be too fair and too reasonable. And you wouldn't be able to screw the guy that's trying to stop paying the money out of the next 2-3 months. Because hold my beer, we're not done after the next month. Jesus. All right, we're going to get a month delay. And then we're going to go, and I'm going to have to go back in there. So now we're talking August. Going to go into court. She's going to say, I don't have a lawyer. Okay, we'll give you a month to get a lawyer. So you go another month. So now we're going to go back in September.
And you're $500 to $750 in the hole.
And every week, drop in the bucket.
Yeah, but just don't pay it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not really a thing because they're going to take it. Like, I've tried that crap and been through this stuff before, and, like, no, and what happens? The state just takes it right from you. Like,
Well, you're supposed to get it back, though, right?
You would think.
You're supposed to.
Well, who's paying it?
Right.
You know, and let me just be as nice about this as I can. It has never not costed me money to deal with her.
Yeah.
So at the end, I'm losing money, and you know, whatever. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
And let me repeat myself. I've never had an issue supporting my child.
Yeah.
That's never been a thing. But you know, so we're into September now. She's got a lawyer. We can't agree. We're looking at October for another date. So this is going to go 5, 6, 7 months. I talked to my friend the other day, and he's like, oh, you know, blah, 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 there goes hunting season. Like, yeah, I'm going to be in and out again this year. It's just a nonstop thing. The family court system is like that. There was repeated times over the years that, you know, unfortunately, I had one of those, holy crap, you can't make this shit up kind of divorces and custody situations. Yeah. We've talked about it. So, like, there's been such ludicrous things that have happened in court that just absolutely consume a whole day and don't do any good. You know, one time I ended up taking a day off from court her day off from work, go to court, sit there, and then, as soon as you even look at that building after 5 years of going to family court, you just start shaking when you park your car. And then I got to go in there and deal with her and her loud mouth and the crap she's pulling. And I sit there and I listen and I get talked to and I lawyer this and lawyer that. And after 4 hours of being in the courtroom, the only thing that was accomplished was I had a restraining order put against me for my dog.
Nice.
Yep, because she hooted and hollered about how I beat the damn dog. Never beat my dog. I punched the dog if he needed it. But, never beat the dog.
Yeah.
But that was what we accomplished in one day of actual family court.
Nice.
And then you walk out of there and you're just, ready to explode. It's almost as bad as the medical system as far as it's designed to just continually cost and run you and cost and run you.
I've heard so many horror stories when it comes to family court. Like I had a buddy who the mother of the child was a drug addict. I mean, legit needle in the arm drug addict. It took him, I think, almost a year to get his kid away from that situation. Because the mother has all these rights
Absolutely.
And he has none.
Nothing. You're strapped right from the get-go.
I guess it's starting to change a little bit. Well, just in general in the United States, there's more judges now because I've watched some stuff on it, and it's probably not New York.
No.
But I've seen other states where they're starting to be equal between the man and the woman, and they're like, listen, you make more than the man. The man has the kid the same amount of time. You're paying child support, not him.
Well, even after I caught her basically trying to kidnap her and take her on vacation and move to out west, I got custody. You think I get a penny out of her the whole time I had her?
No.
Can't get nothing. But on her way out the door, she got the paperwork in. That's why I said to our mutual friend there that's kind of going through the same thing, like, paperwork first matters.
Yeah.
You're already behind being the dude.
Yeah.
All right. So everything matters if who gets their word in first, and then understand like you don't have this, you're not going to get that, and it's such baby steps as a father to try and take control of the situation. It'll make you literally just pull your hair out all the time, and fathers particularly get a bad rap because we don't get it.
Right.
And so when you get cut down by the courts, then it makes you look like not a great father.
Yeah.
It's years. I mean, like, dude, I got hotlined on CPS 82 times in a year. So how many times I got to go to court on crap like that?
Yeah.
And it's just a waste of time. But she was just gum up the court works and keep us right in there. She's got the free lawyer. Here goes money after money after money out of me, plus money for this, plus money for that. And then, don't forget you're supporting the actual kid. It was just a absolute complete suck. So
hopefully I never have to go through
well, that's why one of the first pieces of advice I gave you when you told me you had gotten her pregnant.
Yeah.
You're going to have to shoot her to get out now. Because at the end of the day, like family court, child support court, all that crap aside, like I got parents that come in here like I only got to deal with her till the kid turns 18.
Yeah.
No.
The rest of your life.
The rest of your life, absolutely. At some point, my daughter's going to retire.
Yeah.
Her mother will be there.
Well, at some point,
she
might want to get married.
Yeah.
Well, but have
like,
kids and all that stuff.
But think all that shit. Okay, that's in the middle. But like you're still at retirement age. If I'm still around when she retires,
you're not.
I'm
I'm
shooting for less than that, but we'll see.
I'd have to be 100 and something.
Yeah, I'd only be 80.
I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna make it.
If she hurries up and gets going, I'd only have to be 80 now, or 80 something. So it's possible, way unlikely. But should we get that far, and she gets that far, and she gets that far, I'm gonna have to deal with her. So you're never done.
Right.
With it. The situation is forever. So the family court system doesn't have to be. They could use a little common sense, and I get some judges. I've spoken privately to some judges. We tattoo some, and conversation comes up, and like they know what the deal is.
Right, but the law is the law,
and the law is the law, and they've got to do what they've got to do. So it's a complete, just a circle of shit. And even the people that are involved in it mostly know it for sure. You know, and the bailiffs and stuff, you know, they'll see you when you come in, and they're just like, you know, damn, dude, you gotta do this again.
Yeah.
Like, I thought you got lucky and got this handled last time, and yeah, you know, but it's terrible for a father, and I could rant and rail about how bad it is all the way around, but the father part is just, it's
The
ridiculous.
thing I don't get is if you're a father and you have 50-50 custody, why do you have to pay child support? If it's truly 50-50 and you have the kid half the time, they have the kid half the time, why does the dad have to pay? And I don't care what the other person makes. I don't care what any of them make.
I rarely know anybody that gets the 50-50 actual 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the most insane thing ever written on a piece of child support or child custody legislation. And I've got boxes of this shit.
Yeah.
Paper. And on the very end, after all the rules and shit, it says, and other, I can't remember the exact wording, but other arrangements can be made as parties can agree.
Yeah.
All right, motherfucker, if I could agree, I wouldn't have
wouldn't be in
wasted
that
the last
situation.
6
No.
months of my
You
life
wouldn't be in
talking
family
to
court.
yeah,
Yeah.
talking to you about it.
Yeah.
All right, so you don't agree, and so then every disagreement gets disputed at court. So every disagreement maybe not be worth you going to court to deal with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just better let her have the night, you know. And so it doesn't ever end up being 50-50 because as much as she'll complain, it'll be less worth it for you to just go through it. And that's how they beat your way down into you get no rights anymore.
Another reason I waited till I was 40 to get married.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping this is the one and only. I waited long enough.
I after that one, I swear to God, it would never happen again.
Yeah.
But
Well, I said I always said I'm going to wait for the right one.
Yep.
And I waited.
Oh.
So this is it.
it's one of the first pieces of advice I gave to my kids once they got grown up enough to be, you know, reproducing, was like, you don't know who you're doing it with, and you get out there and have an accident, like, you're stuck.
Yep.
Like, you've got to get to know the person. You know, I did not know this woman.
Yeah.
She didn't know me.
Right.
We were having a good time for a short time, and it was like, holy crap, there we go.
Yep.
You know, and in both of our regards, I will say we tried to do the best we could with what we had.
Right.
I don't blame the divorce and all that stuff solely on her. She probably blames it all on me, but I don't
Right.
blame it all on her. We were both wrong. Should have never been together. Like my daughter now just can't even. We separated so young when she was so young. Like the concept of me being in the same room with her doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like completely opposite people should never even ran into each other one drunk night and it was a fling, you know. And so had I known what I was doing,
Right.
you know, holy crap. But it's so difficult to navigate that situation as a parent in general and as a father. And then, you know, so then you get to the extreme. Like I did everything I could. I had her for a couple years. Her mother, in my opinion, just guilt tripped her to the point she got started being mentally unstable about it. And I had to make an executive decision, let her go out there.
Yeah.
So be it. It was the best thing for her brain. It was the worst thing for my relationship with her.
Right.
And it, you know, so then now people look at me like, my daughter lives out there and has for years.
Yep.
What kind of dad are you then? You know, I'm
Kind that really wanted his kid to stay here.
yeah,
but
I'm a Zoom
didn't
dad.
work out, yeah.
You know, it was never the plan. It was never the way it was supposed to go, but it worked out that way because basically the court just kneecapped me at every corner.
Right.
You know, and she figured out how to work the system to get it to do what she wanted to do. I wasn't educated enough to understand the importance of doing things quickly, the legal route. And I said, well, I can figure out how to work with this person.
Yeah.
I can figure out how to make it work because I care enough about my kid to do it. And that just isn't how it works.
Or you're just an adult. You think two adults can figure
you know,
stuff out. You know what I
a
mean?
rational mind and an
Yeah.
irrational mind just ain't never going to get together.
No, but what I'm saying is you would think two adults who can think clearly could sit down and say, but not.
Well,
I might know one person maybe who that's actually worked out for where they could sit down with the person. But the majority of people I know that are going through this stuff, There's no rationality in any of it.
No.
It's like all emotion and bullshit.
Yep. And I won't say men don't do it, but women particularly, and I hear a lot of shit out front. So don't forget, America, I hear a lot of shit. All right, I can really mess some people up if I put their words out there. But
yeah, because you just sit up there all nice and quiet.
Yeah, I don't say shit.
You
I
don't
just
say
listen
a word.
to it.
Just listen to everything.
But women are absolute quickness to go straight to weaponizing the kid.
Oh yeah.
All right, I will plant the seed in her, and I'll make her do the work for me. And that's basically what was starting to happen to my daughter.
Well, they're also a lot more emotional than us, and they use their feelings for all their decisions. Whereas we think with our heads, and we're like, okay, we could do this, and that's like a foreign concept.
Most of the time, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
they're emotional. They're an emotional being.
And when they wind up, they generally make they make crazy decisions at the drop of a hat.
But it's not always a bad thing. Like a woman's emotional stuff. Like they can sense stuff a lot more than we can.
Absolutely, I'm oblivious to a lot of shit.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Whereas they'll be like, something's not right about that.
Mm-hmm. She said hi, weird.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then come to find out,
she had a weird look. They had a weird look.
You're dead on with that.
They're good with that stuff,
but they're spiteful. And they are. And when you burn them, it's terrible. And that goes for people in general. But like when you can be so spiteful that you'll weaponize your own child to make your means come to an end, it's just, I don't know how. And I'm not saying specifically my ex-wife, though she may have done that, but just women in general. I listen to it, and guys will come in the same boat and be like, what do I do? And they're thinking it through, and a lot of them overthink it to the point where they can't even really make a decision. Like, well, I could do this or I could do that, and weigh it in and weigh it out. And the woman's like, bam, hold that.
Yeah.
And then you're unprepared because you're like, well, just last night things were okay when I dropped the kid off.
Right.
And now this morning I've got CPS at my house for another freaking reason.
That goes even when you're living with them.
Uh-huh.
No, everything was fine this morning. Then I said something a little wrong.
Yeah. Well, at least then I could have a clue. But like when they just show up on your door.
I never have a clue.
Well,
I'm like, what the hell did I say? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just oblivious or I'm just a guy and dumb with that stuff, but I have no idea.
I'd say yes on both accounts.
Yeah. A lot of times I have no idea why she's mad.
Yeah. When you get deeper into it, like you'll get more educated on it. Like I'll say stupid shit, and that side eye quick glance, I'm like, oh, I stepped in it there. Yeah. And then you can figure out how to get out of it, which is an art all on its own.
Right.
But it's tough, and when you're done, you're always wondering like how it would have been different if I'd have made this different decision at this time.
Yeah.
And Monday morning quarterbacking only goes so far. I've always just banked on the fact that at a certain age and stage, they would all come to the realization of their own that this was maybe wasn't the way I was told it was.
Yeah.
And
I think when kids grow up, they figure stuff out. I mean, just think about, when you were a teenager, your parents didn't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at all.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got older and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
They kind of knew a little bit,
Well, it's been tough because I've always had the opinion straight out of the gate with my daughter, like, there will be no BS in this house. I'll just be real with it.
Yeah.
Well, there was definitely points where being real with it and her being 10 maybe wasn't appropriate. Right. There was a time I wish I could go back and undo it, but there was a particularly bad court day and she was in my custody, so I came home just half out of my mind and losing it, and she's like, well, that's not what Mom said. And so I handed her the paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm like, would you like to sit down and read this with me? And we kind of went through it, and as I was doing it, I'm like, man,
shouldn't be doing this.
this is pushing the limits
Yeah.
of being honest.
Yeah.
Because that's all I was trying to do. Just be like, this is really what's going on. You're too little to understand, but maybe if you see it in front of you.
Yeah.
But
But
it
again,
was more
it's-
information than maybe she should have been given.
It's a child.
Yeah,
They don't know.
So, I've pushed to try and make it so she could understand as fast as she can. I will say now in this age, like I said, she doesn't live at home, so there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So there's she's coming into it and understanding more of what I was talking about. The older two, as they've grown up, they've seen their father and what he doesn't do,
Right.
which is anything but suck money out of them if they're dumb enough to be nice about it. And
They never helped. He never helped them growing up. Why did they help?
Hey, remember I was telling you about a guy 20 years back? Yeah. Yeah. So, standards are different.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, they, as they aged, realized, them two don't call me dad.
Right.
I get the most amazing Father's Day messages and cards, all that.
Yeah.
But they don't call me dad, but they know who their father is.
Right.
And they know who their dad is. Mm-hmm. All right. There's a huge gap in those two words.
Yeah.
But, when they talk about who's my father, that guy. Brittany says, I need my dad. She's talking about me.
Right.
And she'll tell you. It's not something I'm making up. I never expected them to. I didn't have them when they were young enough to really build that in.
Yeah.
But, as they grew up, they knew who I was, what I was about, what I'm willing to do for them. I'm dad. So they get it. But when you go through something like that, that's why I said, I've been battling this stuff. I talk to other guys that are battling this stuff. And I am consistent with the one piece of advice every time somebody comes in and says, I'm just about to have my first baby. Shoot her now. Just do it. It's just the only way out of the situation.
So should we move on to a little bit less heavy topic?
Absolutely.
Panthers won the Stanley Cup.
Fuck yeah. I called that way early.
Dude,
in
I
the
was so
season.
happy to see that. Even though I hate Marchand because he's a fucking rat.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good player. He's just a rat.
He absolutely is.
But I was super stoked. McJesus doesn't get his Stanley Cup yet.
That's disappointing for me because he is so great.
Dude, he's so good.
Uh-huh.
He's such a good player.
Yep.
But it just...
Those
There's
guys,
something about him being so good and just not getting a Stanley Cup that just... It makes my heart grow one size larger. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe because I don't want to see him beat Sid, record-wise. You know what I mean? I don't want him to have more cups than Sid. I don't,
So what's he got?
It's kind of like a little
what's Sid got?
spiteful thing. Sid's got three cups.
That's what I thought. I was thinking 3 or 4. Yeah.
3 cups, Conn Smythe.
Bennett with the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
He
there was
deserved it, man. 15.
Oh, absolutely
Yeah.
deserved it. But I think there's 4 guys on the Panthers that
Yeah.
could have had that.
Oh, God. What's that guy's name?
I mean,
Who's-
Bobrovsky.
Bob was
out of your
sick,
fucking
though.
mind.
So he had one game where he didn't play good
Right.
at all, but all the rest he was...
The whole playoffs.
Yeah.
The Conn Smythe.
No, I mean even in the cup.
in the finals, he had one.
finals, he had one game where
that
I
was,
was like, eh.
but I mean, just nuts.
Yeah. But again, championship comes down to goaltending. Because Skinner is not going to win you a championship. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I
They
don't
They
think
don't
so.
have the goalie. That's what
No.
killed them.
No, and their backup was playing better than Skinner, and they went right back to Skinner after they gave the kid one game.
They lit the backup up.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna light them both up, they have my starter out there at least.
I guess. But was he? I don't know if he was even playing better than the kid, though. You know what I mean?
No, I don't either.
And they built a defense. That's why this year they had added defense
Yep.
and stuff like that. But they still
Couldn't score.
Oilers couldn't. The D still wasn't playing like they should either.
No.
For the Oilers.
No, and then they lost it at the end of the first period in this game.
Oh yeah. Just hitting the way they were hitting.
When they went into the end of the first, the last 45-second goal there to put them up 2-0.
Oh, yeah,
When they went into the locker room, the game was over.
But I the way they came out too and were being physical instead of playing their game, because no matter the Oilers can be a little physical because they're big,
Yep.
but that's not really their game. You know what I mean? So I think
Well, that's Florida's game.
That's Florida's game.
Matthew
Yeah.
Tkachuk come right out and told him it's the first 10 minutes of the first period. We don't even care if there's a puck on the ice. We're just taking the body. He was like, well, you guys could not even drop the puck. We'll skate for 10 minutes and just hit
Tkachuk
people.
on my team so bad.
Absolutely.
But that's Florida's game. That's not really the Oilers' game. It's not.
Did you?
And they were trying to play that game, and that's what the Panthers do. They suck people in playing that game, and you can't
Trip to the penalty box.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can't play that game with them.
Did you hear at the end how bad Tkachuk was off after the four
Yeah,
nations?
his leg was so screwed up.
Well, I had heard a snippet right after. I can't remember who was talking. One of the talking heads after the end of that game at the Four Nations, and he had talked to Tkachuk in the hallway, and he had told him that he might not be done for the season. He might be done.
Yeah.
And I heard there was just one mention of that, and I remember hearing about it. And so last night he told us that
When you're on the ice talking,
his adductor muscle literally was torn off the bone, and he had a hernia.
he shouldn't have been on the ice.
Right.
Like,
So,
the whole time.
his whole spiel, and I'd often, hold the hockey player to a higher standard than all other sports players because
'Cause they're tougher.
It's always we.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything. All he said about his injury
Mm-hmm.
was thanks to everybody else that made it possible for me to come back.
Well, they're all team players, and they're all tough as
Right.
nails. Every single one of them.
And that's why this year I love the Oklahoma Thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, because you watch their, at the end of the basketball game, you get the star shot and he gets the interview. He's got 6 guys that come to the interview with him. Everybody that's on the floor comes over and does the interview.
Where's that series at?
That's the
Indy was leading. I know, last time
tonight. I think is Oklahoma can close them out tonight.
Last I knew, Indy was leading the series.
No.
I don't know. I haven't.
No,
I
it was.
I don't watch basketball.
Yeah, well, it's on, and it's on the opposite nights. So I watch. That's pretty much the only basketball I watch. It'd be playoffs a little bit, and then the finals for sure.
What was the name of the kid? I can't think of his name on Florida. 4 goals. He has the most.
Oh, Reinhardt.
Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Reinhardt ends up tying freaking Gretzky, and that's crazy.
For the most goals in a final.
Yeah,
Yep.
for most goals in the final. That's crazy.
But I thought it was, the game.
That was a team.
It was an anticlimactic game
Yeah.
because you knew after the end of the first, Panthers were winning it.
Yeah.
And then
But they were down, 3-0 when they pulled the goalie with 6 minutes left?
yeah, I absolutely never counted them out.
No, but I don't think I would pull at 6 minutes. I think that's way too long. Way too long of a time.
I don't mind it because if you're down, you got to do something.
It's 3 goals, though.
It doesn't matter to me if you lose by 6 or by 1. You lost.
Well, yeah.
So my wife says the same thing. She hates it when they pull the goalie. Like
I don't.
I know you don't hate
Yeah.
it, but I don't hate it at any point in time. If you're confident enough as a coach or desperate enough as a coach to throw them out there, it means you need to score.
Here's another thing doing it at 6 minutes. All your number ones can't be out there for 6 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you're not getting the highest quality.
Right, you're
chances.
getting waves at best. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So 6 minutes doesn't let you do that. You might be able to get away with 3.5 minutes.
But at 6 minutes, you get an automatic built-in TV timeout somewhere in there too that you don't have to waste.
Yeah.
So you do get some time.
I still don't think I'd pull at 6 minutes.
I know.
It was like 6.5 minutes. It wasn't really 6
It
minutes.
doesn't. They could have pulled them at 10 minutes. They could have pulled them at 2 minutes. They weren't winning the game.
No.
So it's a desperation move, and if you're that desperate or that confident that you can make it happen, you just go for it.
But Florida was flying though too.
Imagine what would have happened if Edmonton had pulled it 6 minutes and then scored 2 right off the bat.
Right.
And
then, that's demoralizing.
Then he's a genius.
Yeah. Well, look, was it game 1 or game 2 where they came back to tie it? The last.
It was. I think it just flip flopped all the way until the last game. So I think game 2 was the Oilers game, or no, game 1 the Oilers won. Panthers won the next one.
And they took him to overtime with they pulled the goalie.
Like 0.6 seconds or something. left.
Yeah. And Florida had been dominating that game.
Yep, the whole time.
And then you see them at the end. They gave up 2 or 3 goals. Yep. It's just total demoralizing.
And then losing overtime.
And then they lose in overtime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The swings in hockey are just
unbelievable.
A lot of emotion. A lot. Yeah. But Florida was flying. Mm-hmm. All their guys were they looked 10 times faster than the Oilers.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Oilers should look faster than them.
Yep.
But they did not
No.
at all.
The one guy did, but that was it.
Yeah. Well, McDavid looks faster than anybody on the
That dude
ice.
looks faster on the bench.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
And the stuff he does, he just breaks people.
It was so disappointing he only got one goal.
Yeah.
You know,
How many years does he have not winning the cup where he demands to be traded? How many years do you think?
Not very many.
You think 2 more? 4 more?
I'd say if they don't at least make the finals again this coming year, he's
You
looking
think
out.
so if they don't make the finals?
Yep.
Yeah. I
If
know
he's
he,
not-
he
if he-
wants a cup.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And him and Draisaitl deserve one.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But how long can they keep him and Draisaitl together too?
That's the thing. So I think next year, I wish I could remember. I'm not one of them techie guys that just can get my stats brought up for me yet. We gotta work on that.
I could.
All right.
We have a Google machine.
I do, but you can't keep up with me. What was I saying? Oh, I think that the contract years are coming up next year for at least one of them. So it's going to be make or break next year. Like if they're not knocking on the door,
They're going to give a team-friendly deal.
no,
Right. I mean,
not to stay in Edmonton. Even
Right.
even Wayne Gretzky didn't do
the
that.
taxes are crazy. That's the difference too between playing for like a team like Florida
Mm-hmm.
and playing for a team like Edmonton. There's no state income tax in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, you're paying Canadian taxes, the province taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot more expensive to play up there. Everything is, even compared like Florida. I mean, even
But
there's
when you're making a couple million a year, like
I know, but that's a draw for some guys. Like,
It is.
Okay. Do
But
I
if you-
play
but-
somewhere where I have no state income taxes? I can live on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful year round, and I can still play hockey. Or do I go to the frozen north, where I pay more in taxes?
yeah.
I see the sun maybe 2 months out of the year. You know.
But I see like the tax part being the team friendly part.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'll be willing to put up with this if you make this work.
And I guess what happens with pro athletes is they pay the tax in the state they're in. So like if I don't know if Green Bay,
That's why nobody wants to come to the Knicks.
so like if Green Bay is playing in Nashville, because Tennessee doesn't have state income tax, they don't pay state
Oh,
income
so they're
tax
paid
on that check.
on that game.
Right.
Ah,
Yeah, you're only the difference you're making is on your home games.
home games.
Yeah, yeah. yeah.
So well, then half your year you're not paying tax on it, or
Well,
as much.
it depends
tax?
on where
yeah,
you're playing.
I mean,
where
obviously.
you have more home,
Yeah, you don't want to play in
half-
You don't want
like
to play
with
in
football.
Boston. You don't want to play in New York.
like half your games are home games.
Yeah.
So you know half your games aren't going to be taxed.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
And
That's a
then
good point. I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah. So like when they go to California, they pay out their ass. When
Yeah.
they come to New York, they pay out their ass.
Right.
We live in New York, so we pay out our ass. Period.
Yep. My wife tries to argue that, but I disagree.
What?
That we don't pay more than what we should.
Yeah, we definitely pay more than what we should.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, she has valid points on why we're not paying what we should, but
If our roads were perfect,
if
if
if they were coming in and setting up my appointments for me, and they were coming in and wiping off my tables and dealing with my customers, then yeah, you can have a portion of my income. But since you don't do that, that's mine.
I don't even care about that. The roads are pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the roads suck. The infrastructure sucks.
Yep.
They want to turn everything electric in this freaking state. We don't even have the grid for it. They're not improving the grid. I mean, what the frick are we paying for? Mm-hmm. For people to sit at home on their ass? Fuck
Yep.
that. That's bullshit.
Yep.
I don't want to pay for that shit. I don't know. That's why I like that cutting off the the federal food stamp shit. If you're an able-bodied person
Yeah,
and you're
put a-
choosing not to work,
Put a work
you don't
requirement
get
on
that
it.
shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Work requirement on it. I'm with that.
Yeah, I've always been for work.
And
You know what I mean?
I've been in that boat,
Yeah.
and it's a great program for the people that need it at the times they need it. It's not meant to be.
I agree.
A
But you're not supposed to live on
I
it.
was just gonna say, not a fucking decade-long lifeline that you're supposed to get. It's a leg up for a minute.
And there's certain disabled people that need it
Yep.
for their whole life, and I don't mind putting money towards that one
Yep.
bit.
We
But
got to take care of our elderly. We got to
Yep.
take care of our less advantaged people. But if you can,
if you're
get up-
able-bodied and
Yeah.
you can get a job and you just don't, fuck you.
Well, that's exactly what I said, a couple weeks back when we were talking about picking up firewood in the Forever Wild shit. And
Yeah.
we won't let them work. We'll just give them heap.
Yeah.
All right, it's absolute insanity
Yeah.
where our money in this state goes, and it's to a bunch of liberal nonsense that 2/3 of the square miles of this, more than 2/3, the entire upper half of the state or more versus the New York City.
Yeah.
And it's the policies from there end up here. Like there's a lot of talk, we've heard it for years, like cut off the city, give us our state back, blah blah blah. I get we can't do that because if we lose our state funding that is majorly based in the income of New York City, our schools up here would suffer and stuff like that.
Yeah, until we could get it. It would take just some time. That's all it would do.
Well,
it would take some time.
It would take some time, and our taxes are going to go up.
Yeah. Well, they might not. They might stay the same, but it's going to take a while to allocate stuff the way it needs to be done.
So,
But
I'm
it also might not turn this state red because we have Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. That's where your major
the metropolitan area is where all the libs
and they're
are at.
still blue. So it doesn't really. I don't think it's really going to make that big of a difference.
Well,
To be honest with
I
you.
think it'll screw the money up, but
Yeah.
it's absolute ridiculousness to the umpteenth degree on how we have our tax dollars funding nonsense like protests and
Yeah.
I'm paying for just people to live off the system that can do whatever I can do. I mean, I see it. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see it. Like you just basically live in a community and pay attention, and you know who the ones that are just scumming off the system are.
Go to Walmart the first day of the month.
Well, yeah, but some of those people are legit though.
Some are legit.
So
if you really need it,
know,
I think it's great.
I'm saying like just pay attention to your local community.
Right.
Like what we should be doing is calling these people out.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Instead of just that's the Joneses up the road. They've never done nothing. They're never going to do nothing. We just pay their bills and their health insurance for them, and they accumulate lawnmowers.
Yeah.
You know who they are.
But it blows my mind. A lot of them, they got a truck, they got 4-wheelers, they got all this shit. I'm like, they have AC, they have cable, they have internet, they have cell phones.
Yeah, better ones than
You're
mine.
living a pretty damn good life for not working.
Yeah, because you're not paying anything, but you're working on the side.
Right.
We know who you are.
Yeah.
And hey, don't knock the hustle, but the government, if we're going to put the government in charge of taking care of that, they need to take care of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do nothing about it. You can't do nothing. We can tell about, I can go stand in the guy's front lawn and be like, this guy's a scumbag. But, at the end of the day, the government doesn't care enough to fix the problem.
Yep. And if you need it for a little bit, I think you should get it. But I think anyone should get it if they need it for a little bit. You go on unemployment, you can't get that stuff.
Nope.
You have to be out of work for so long. Why don't we give that to people that just are waiting to get a new job? Anyway, that could be a whole nother episode. I think this is going to do it for today.
All right.
But don't forget to like, share, subscribe.
Comment.
What else?
Let us know you're watching. Tell somebody you saw it.
Tell us some stuff you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later.
No shit given. No shit given. No shit given. We don't care what you